Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Another segment of the Grassy Knoll, and I guess, well, I'm going to finish up this Common Sense Renewed, the Georgia Guidestones by Robert Christian. Oh, man. But honestly, I'm looking at these last few chapters, reflection on God and religion. I think we left off on revolution or something like that. And then we go into something else here on the conversion of Russia. It's like, yeah, all right. And then to the final chapter, to make partners of rivals. I mean, some of this stuff, I mean, you know, it's nauseating. And you know, I'm going to read some of the things here that I think kind of sum up what they're doing. And we'll leave it at that. To go through all this stuff, honestly, we've read it once already. It's being restated. And, of course, you'll love the fact that this character, whoever wrote this, even if it were by committee, I'm just regular folk. I really don't have to write, but let me tell you the way things are and the history of the world in 100 and some odd pages. Sure. So on the conversion of Russia, this is talking about Christianity and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It says, it is our cheerful hope that our species is on the threshold of a new age in which our collective intelligence will assert its destined role in guiding the future progress of all life on Earth. If we are to cross that threshold, we must not permit reason to be overruled by tradition or by unsupported faith. What does that mean? To ensure for religion a vital role in guiding humanity through future ages, society must provide means for its constant renewal and purification by its own ministers working with individuals who are well versed in the sciences and in the general spectrum of human knowledge. Now, you know, what has that got to do, well, with spirituality? Religion is, well, obviously religion is religion. But, I mean, why do we need society and scientists or people well versed in sciences to ensure that religion have a vital role in guiding humanity? I mean, what do they got to do with anything? But, I mean, he's got it right. I don't think he means it that way, but religion, of course, is used as a tool, and that's what most people who, you know, are atheists or agnostics, talk about, because they're right. I mean, it is. It's a tool. It's an opiate of the people, but it's not what we're talking about when we're talking about spirituality or Christianity. It's not the same. But what gets out there before people, all the stupid stuff that's done, all the phonies that are out there, are the people. It's the information that those who want to clobber Christianity use when they, whether or not they realize that it's not where it's really at. Communist leaders within Russia today will not be won over to religious doctrines based solely on Trojan's Bible stories or on anthropomorphic concepts of God. They will not accept articles of faith which are clearly contrary to reason. Isn't that great? Now, isn't that a smack to the Bible? Solely on children's Bible stories or on anthropomorphic concepts of God. Okay, let's throw it at. Nice job. Religious teachers now living have a golden opportunity to join with scientific leaders who are theistically oriented to reinterpret from their treasures of traditional beliefs and practices those elements best suited for inclusion in a new appeal to enlightened human reason. The time is at hand for those spokesmen of all the faiths to cooperate in formulating basic moral guides for the entire human family. Hopefully those guides will include an absolute prohibition of aggressive warfare. Shall we have non-aggressive warfare? That single tenet supplemented by an impartial world court. Sure, they're all impartial, right? Yeah, this one's going to be too, right? And by effective cooperation enforcement that will win general approval by most of humanity. Hopefully, too, they will include other provisions to enhance international cooperation and the sharing of knowledge to address other problems which will confront our species down through the ages, like global totalitarianism. All right, the dawn of an enlightened relationship between humanity and God may be at hand if we only assert the force of our collective reason. Yeah, God could use the help, right, bro? It is the duty of religious leaders of all persuasions to become sufficiently knowledgeable in all fields of understanding that they can join with secular intellectuals in plotting our course into the future. In this way, human intelligence can ensure for every creature a suitable role in our earthly corner of this vast cosmos. Kind of brings a tear to your eye. So here we go on to make partners of rivals. There's some interesting stuff he's written down there. Some things that actually, everybody would say yay to, but it's not going to happen. Never has happened. And other things that, let me just read it, because I stop enough as I do. In the United States, we must control excessive concentrations of capital and power, while we encourage total capital formation in widely dispersed forms involving all the people. By making a portion of a worker's wages completely free of taxation, when it is invested in productive savings, we can induce widespread participation by everyone in the risk and rewards of an incentive economy. Moderation in the taxation of corporations and exemption of dividends and savings interest from taxation would be further incentives to adequate capital formation. Moderation in the taxation of corporations. So you mean they get taxed? Really. Workers would become interested owners of the corporations which employ them. These steps would assure the continuous renewal and modernization of productive facilities. Which, actually just sounds like communism. Would this be publicly run? Is that what you're saying? Or is this something where the workers really, what do they call that, wage-led productivity or something like that? I don't know. I guess if the state does this, it's a different situation. Workers would become interested owners of the corporations which employ them. Maybe that's all right. Maybe that's what there's been an attempt at doing that in some places where you give shareholders, I guess, of the company. Was that what Walmart does too? I don't know. Anyway, this was written in 1985. Prudent changes in tax laws dealing with the ownership and inheritance of corporations in agricultural land will assist in decentralizing ownership. Private social insurance backed by invested capital can be encouraged to assume primary responsibility for retirement and other insurable needs. Private social insurance backed by invested capital. I'm just thinking of what we have now. Sometimes do we have that? Private social insurance backed by corporations. I don't know. Somehow that just doesn't sound good either way. Actually, you got corporations involved in it now, and you can't get adequate health care. The policies keep getting worse, and the cost of procedures keeps getting higher. All right. In this way, a citizen who has devoted a lifetime to the production of goods and services for others will retire with financial security assured. Families deprived of wage earners by untimely death or disability will be cared for. The role of government can be reduced to supporting the truly indigent through general taxation. That's so vague, All right, excessive concentration of wealth in the control of a privileged class can be avoided through prudent restrictions on inheritance. All right, now the abolition of inheritance is one of the planks of the manifesto. Not written by Karl Marx, but by the bankers for the world that we are headed toward. Now, they aim it at the privileged class, but what winds up happening? Everybody goes, yeah, and then they are the ones who voted into law. The dumbheads are going to be the ones that'll find that the law is going to be, or the legislation will be turned on them. Because do you really think that the privileged class is ever going to give that up? So what we're really looking at is an end to inheritance, goes to the state, and that goes right there with the abolition of private property. All right, as a general principle, society should not limit the wealth and property which an industrious person may accumulate in a lifetime if abuses are prevented. But the amounts of capital which can be inherited should be severely curtailed. And where would they go to? All citizens should feel their incentives of need. All should be stimulated by the promise of reward for effort. Wealthy individuals may be permitted to bequeath to their dependents a modest endowment of accumulated capital. Providing for one's family is a socially desirable function, and the tradition of continuous land ownership in a farming family or the continuous participation of following generations in a family business can have positive effects so long as excessive concentrations of capital are avoided. Well, what would you call excessive concentrations of capital? You know, it's dangerous when it's vague like that. You know, you can get somebody saying, yeah, okay, and then all of a sudden, you know, you spring it on them. All right, the ownership of real estate and other means of production should be a matter of public record. Owners of, well, isn't it? Owners of stock shares should be identified. Secret ownership through offshore trusts and other arrangements can be regulated through controls on the distribution of income. Well, if you're going to regulate secret ownership of offshore trusts, then it's not secret, is it? All right, a problem in capitalistic societies has been our inability to combine full employment, optimal sharing of wealth, and stable high-level economic activity. Socialism has also failed to achieve this goal, although unemployment rates are sometimes concealed by means of wholesale employment of citizens in menial jobs financed by the central government. That's where we're headed now anyway. All right, and let me move on. And in the end of this book, in the last 3 pages, under this last chapter, to make partners of rivals, it's interesting. It is said, they talk about Russia and the United States, and that's what the rivals refer to in that title. As many communist nations now call themselves democratic people's republics. Absolutely. Adoption of these proposals will help them reflect in practice the nature proclaimed by their names. A, quote, selective democracy, unquote, sustained through suffrage standards of a high order, which means not everybody votes, using the mechanism of the Communist Party may ultimately prove to be a superior form of government. If political power is transmitted from the people to those in ruling positions in a manner which reflects knowledge and understanding by those who participate in elections, government of the people by the best representatives of the people may become a reality. Experiments with selective democracy may be more easily accomplished in Russia than in the United States. It is politically more feasible to expand voting privileges among a people long accustomed to severe restrictions than to establish restrictions of suffrage among a people from what has long been universally available, even though it may have been neglected or abused. And of course, the canard here is that, what are you voting for? Corrupt individuals. So what difference does it make if you get the election? You know, like Watt said a while ago, the reason they have elections is that the peasants don't, revolt. So they feel like they got some kind of process, but they never did. But they're happy with the vote, even though they have nothing to vote for. And that's the key. All right. These proposals for political and economic change are of an elementary and general nature. Wiser and more perceptive individuals can provide better plans for achieving a peaceful, cooperative family of nations through intelligent compromise and innovation. We must keep that ideal ever in mind, and we must encourage leaders in all nations to seek it with perseverance and imagination. Definitely heavy on that last word. Our world is facing its most grave crisis in the crescendo of preparations for nuclear war. If human leaders fail to defuse this threat, they abandon the gift of reason. Rational planning and reasonable compromise can develop acceptable solutions. Russia and the United States have both experienced the evils of war. The Russian people have suffered grievously. More war is not the answer, with an exclamation point. Our leaders must develop a common awareness as human beings. First, they have to get human. We must face world problems primarily as partners and only secondarily as friendly competitors, advancing individual philosophies. Acting together, our two nations can advance the cause of knowledge and material prosperity for all the people of the earth. We can lead the effort to deal effectively with population pressure and resource depletion. We can eliminate nuclear weapons. We can confine national military forces within their native borders. Above all, through our example and assistance, we can lead all nations to an acceptance of rule by law, there it is again, in international affairs, applied through world courts, and enforced when necessary, which will always be necessary, by cooperative international military forces. Together we can lead the world over the threshold of an enduring age of reason.